Hello, 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 everybody out there in Flosstube world. This is Vicki, aka the Virginia Stitcher, coming to you with my Flosstube number. I'm looking down here because I never can remember the number and I don't want to tell a lie. Flosstube number 31. And it is Monday, October 24th, 2022. So I know it's been probably a little over 3 weeks, I think, since my last video. And I wanted to check in with all of you lovely friends, stitchy friends of mine. And I've got some stuff to show you. Some of the stuff that I've been up to, I have been really busy. Even though I haven't been traveling, I've actually been spending time, probably every weekend this month I've been gone. I've actually been up to Northern Virginia with both my daughters. My one daughter had a graduation that I went up to, so we're so proud and happy for her. Went and celebrated with her and my two granddaughters for the day. And then the next weekend I went out to see my other daughter and her family, and we spent some time together with my grandsons. I have two grandsons here and two granddaughters. And so I spent some time with them. And then we had an errand we had to run up in Northern Virginia. So we stopped by, spent some more time with them. I'm trying to figure out which side of my iPad that my camera is. So I'm hoping I'm looking at you guys. I try not to look at myself because it's so weird to look at myself while I'm talking. And I can't remember which side. So if I look like I'm looking off to the side, I'm sorry. I need to figure that out better. And then the following weekend, we went back out there because it was my son-in-law's birthday. So we went up there to celebrate his birthday with him. So this past weekend. So, and got to see my grandsons again and stuff. So I've been having a lot of family time, which has been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You know, with COVID, we all kind of stayed shut down, and then to get out and be around family and friends again is so nice. And the weather has cooled down and it's just gorgeous out there. I'm looking out my window and I'm just looking at all the beautiful fall colors of the leaves on the trees in the back. It is just beautiful. And then I may seem a little tired today. Don't worry, I'm not sick or anything. One of my little dogs has a stomach issue, and she has been having needing to be run out to the backyard day and night, round the clock for the last couple of days. So far today. Now, if I have to abruptly leave because she comes in and she kind of gives me a look like, hey, I need to go out, I may have to go run and let her out in the backyard. And I don't edit my videos. What you see is what you get. This is raw footage. This is just me talking in my craft room to you guys and sharing my love of cross stitch. So sometimes life comes in. So anyway, day and night, I have been letting her, I mean, literally probably 5 times last night, I had to run her out to the backyard. She would wake up and kind of give a little growl whine and wake me up, and I would have to run her down the stairs, down out the back door into the basement, out to the backyard. So, and I did that about 5 times last night and a few times the night before. So I'm getting a little bit tired. Cross my fingers so far today. She is on a chicken and rice diet right now. I started that yesterday with her. We thought, well, you know, maybe it's just like one-time thing, but it continued. So told my husband I'm cooking her some chicken, you know, boiling her some chicken. He cooked her up some rice, and I did a little bit of sweet potatoes. So I've been just giving her a little bit of the bland food diet for her to try to get her tummy settled. And so far, since breakfast this morning, which has probably been 6 hours now, she is doing good. She has not had to go run out to the backyard. So I'm praying that this is going to stay with her. You know, my vet, I didn't have any appointments available for today, but I'm thinking I just started her on the chicken and rice last night. So I'm hoping that this will clear it up, because she is a little dog and I don't want her to, she also had some vomiting and stuff too earlier, but that's kind of cleared up too. So I'm hoping she's on the mend. So yeah, I know that's TMI, not fun talk, not what you guys came here for. So I have, oh man, I'm stumbling over my words. I love all the comments I get from you guys. I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to tell you, you know, a lot of you comment and say you appreciate some good ideas I give you. Maybe it's fabric choice colors for some of my projects. Maybe it's a storage idea, a stitching tip, whatever. But I want to tell you guys also give me good advice. And I have implemented, I'm going to show you later on, one of the good advices that I had, and I used it in a piece, and I think it's really going to work. So I'll show that to you later, but I want to tell you, I learned from you guys too. This isn't a one-way street. This is the Flosstube community, and it is so nice. It is nice to be around like-minded people that we can toss ideas off of each other. I learn ideas from other Flosstubers. I didn't know anything when I got back into cross stitch a couple of years ago after about an eight-year hiatus. And before that, all I used to stitch on was Aida with DMC floss, pretty much. And that's all I knew. And I didn't know places that I could order from. My local needlework shop closed down years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago. It was Everything Cross Stitch in downtown Fredericksburg on Caroline Street. Well, they closed their doors, and I didn't know of any place that I could go and really get any cross stitch because the regular box hobby stores like Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, all that, they have very, very limited cross stitch supplies. I wish they were better, but you could get your DMCs. You might be able to pick up a piece of fabric or something, like an Aida. But if you don't have a cross stitch store, an actual needlework shop, it's really hard to find most of the stuff. And I didn't know anywhere to get anything, so I kind of got out of it. But when I found Flosstube about 2.5 years ago, I saw people talking about, order things from 123 Stitch. That, oh, I ordered this from 123. I thought, 123 Stitch, what is that? I've never heard of that. Looked it up. They carry a wide variety of things, have flat rate shipping. So I've used them a lot. And I've recommended them. I've told people that that's where I've ordered a bunch of my stuff, because that is where I've ordered a bunch of my stuff. So I've learned through Flosstube. I've learned from you ladies and gentlemen, comments that I get on my channels, my videos. It helps me sometimes, I'll be like, that is a good idea. I didn't even think about that. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that we could toss ideas around and help each other out. And just perpetuate this love of this hobby. It's a lovely hobby, and I love it. It's my favorite. I do have other hobbies. You can't see it. I have a diamond painting sitting over to the side here. I have painting stuff this is just a paint by numbers back here. Look, you can see some of I still haven't hung anything down here. So some of my previous things, that's a diamond painting. But it's got a lot of reflection on it. Some of my cross stitches are sitting down here on the floor. There's a couple more behind them. They're all just leaning up against that bookshelf back there. And those are scrapbook albums. So I do all kinds of crafting. But my love craft, my number one craft is cross stitch. And it always has been. Except for the few years I took off, that's when I really got into scrapbooking really big, because there were scrapbooking stores in town, but there weren't. And then now those have closed down. We had 2 here in Fredericksburg. We were so blessed with 2 scrapbooking stores. I forgot the names of them, but we had 2. And so I could go there and shop all kinds of scrapbooking supplies, not, besides the Hobby Lobby, the Michaels, and the Joann's we have here. We had 2 scrapbooking stores, so that was nice. And they closed down probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I haven't really scrapbooked that much in the last 3 or 4 years. So it is nice when you have local shops that can help you out. So anyways, I have a bunch to show you guys today. I have been busy. Even though I've been busy with family, maybe I haven't gotten as much done on projects as I would like. I not only have been busy with family, but I have been busy also organizing some of my cross-stitching supplies. And I'll show you what I've done at the end of the video. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Probably nothing super, super innovative, but it might help somebody or give somebody an idea. So what I have done, since I'm looking at my stack here, I have 2 stacks sitting right here on the side of the desk of things I've been working on. I have 2 new starts, 2 restarts, and a whole bunch of works in progress that I've been working on. So let's get going. And they're in no particular order necessarily. I'll let you know which ones are the new starts and which ones are the restarts and why I restarted them and things like that. This first piece is one that you've seen many, many, many times before, because this is one that I'm trying to work on the regular, trying to make it my, I haven't been so good this month at making it my 25/7, where I do like 25 minutes or work. I've been working a whole length of thread on it every single morning is what I've been trying to do to get this one finished. I'm hoping by next year, next spring, summer. And this is One Nation by Bygone Stitches. And I am stitching this on a piece of Haunted by Seraphim Fabrics. And it is a 20, I believe it's a 28 count. I think it's a 28 count Lugana. Not real sure. I don't have my note right here. It might be buried. Oh wait, here it is. Hold please, and I can let you know. You're going to hear a slight little crinkle of my bag. This is on 28 count Lugana by Seraphim Fabrics called Haunted. I picked this up at the Still City Stitchers Retreat back in February, and then I started it shortly after. And I told you I was trying to do a star and a state, but then what I decided I wanted to do for this year to try to get a jump start for next year is I wanted to start doing a lot of the kind of the bones or the structure of the flag, and then I could just go in and fill in the star and the state. So I was working on that, and I got this blue part finished. So this is what it looks like. This is how far I am. So I finished filling in this blue part where all I have to do now is go in and put a star. There are 50 of these white star motifs in the project. And then I've already put in, you know, the one red line down here. Well, I started a white line because this is where my Q-snap was sitting. So I worked on that white line down there a little bit. But this is how far this piece is. And one of the great comments I got this week from a commenter, and they didn't have their real name. I'm trying to remember what their handle was, but they recommended, and you probably know who you are, and thank you so much, because it did work. I showed it to my husband. He liked it. I am changing. I have stitched Virginia in blue because this is where I live, and this is where I met my husband. This is where we got married, all in the state of Virginia. So I wanted to signify that state. And then he was born in New York. He was actually born in New York City. She recommended, because I was saying that the yellow that I'm signifying the states both my husband and I were born in wasn't showing up that well. Like when you look at the word York over here, you can't hardly see it. But she said, "What your color you chose works so well with it. Why not try to backstitch it in black?" And so that's what I did for new. And you can see it much better now. So I didn't want to finish it because I wanted to show you guys the difference between back stitching it in black or leaving it just with that gold color that I had picked. How much more now I can see, I'll be able to see New York. And when I get to the state I was born in, I'll stitch it in the gold color also. But this is where I am on One Nation by Bygone Stitches. So I finished gridding that, and I'm kind of contemplating going ahead and putting in all the stripes, but I don't know if I'll do that before I move along on putting some more states in. I might just continue on that as I'm putting the stitching states into this one. The fabrics, I'm not using the threads that are called for. I didn't even use the fabric that it's called for. I picked some of my own out of my stash, and the red is a Silks for You PR126. And then I used ecru for the white, DMC ecru. And the blue, oh, it's in the bag. The blue is a Victorian motto that was in my stash. Here it is. And the color is delphinium. So I'm using this blue, and the yellow I had picked, the gold, was Poppy by Victorian Motto. I picked those two. Ecru by DMC, which I just have in a floss away bag. Ecru. And my PR126 is my red. And you can see the variegation in the red, how it goes lighter and darker. I wanted a little bit of variegation going on in my piece. So I like that red color, how it kind of changes as I'm stitching along. And I'll show you again what I'm talking about if you didn't notice that when I was holding it up earlier. See how the red goes lighter and darker, lighter and darker? Kind of looks like it's shining, like the light's hitting it different. Kind of like an undulating flag, kind of waving. So I like it. And then even the letters, you know, change from lighter to darker in there for the states. So I'm loving this piece. I'm going to continue to keep trying to plug away at this. And you know how I had said that I'm trying to make that my 25/7 or 37. What I'm basically doing is putting a whole length of thread in, trying to every morning. But I haven't been doing really well at doing that completely. Well, I have a confession to make. My name is Vicky, and I squirrel. I squirrel a lot. And I had told you guys in my last video how I wanted to do all these goals. Like I had goals set, like I'm going to work 3 days on everything, and I'm going to rotate through my pieces, and I'm going to try to work particular on these things and stuff like that. You know, just be all, I'm going to be so organized in my stitching. Everything's going to get its time, its rotation. I'm just going to be this perfect stitcher, knows what she's doing, everything. Well, that's not me. If you want somebody who does not squirrel, who finishes their stuff all the time, shows you finishes every single week, that's not me. I squirrel, I start new projects. I have constant work on my stitching. I do stitch most days. So if you want to come and you want to see somebody who's an eclectic stitcher, who stitches on several different pieces, that you can watch her progress on her pieces through the videos for a long time, then I'm your stitcher. I stitch on the big things mostly. For some reason, those are what catch my eye. I like small pieces, but I really, really love the large. You know, I like the large marges. I like the big things. I don't, you know, it's like go big or go home with me or something. So I'm going to show you what I did. This is I don't have a book of days, but I had this calendar that I picked up off of Amazon. It has 2022 and 2023 in it. I added these tabs to the side so that I can flip through even next year's are in these colored tabs back here, and the brighter colored tabs are this year. And so for this month, I thought I'm going to put all these projects in here. I'm going to be so on top of it. I am going to stitch 3 days on this and 3 days on that. And I'm going to get in all of these pieces that I said that I want to get continual work on, because I want to do this and I want to do that. And then my One Nation piece is going to be my morning piece every morning when I'm drinking my coffee. As long as I'm home, I'm going to put in a length of thread on that every morning. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to be the perfect stitcher and everything. So I sat there and I put in all of these projects. You probably can't read my chicken scratch, unless there's some doctor's appointments and different things in here. But I got maybe, I don't know, a week and a half in. I was doing it for about 10 days, 10, 12 days. I'm trying to think of where I've flubbed up on here. And then I have like a what I call my evening piece that I stitch on out in the family room while I'm watching TV with my husband. So we have dinner together and then we'll pick a show to watch, and I'll sit and stitch and, you know, things like that. So I had picked out some for that, some for stitching in here that are my larger projects that I want to use on my floor stand that's here in the craft room, and things like that. But I just probably went maybe 2 weeks, maybe about a week ago, you know, a week, 10 days ago, I decided, yeah, this isn't working for me. The whole reason I have so many whips is because I want to work on what I want, when I want, how I feel like it. I love all of my projects. But on a particular day, maybe I'm not feeling a certain piece, but I'm feeling another one. Like another one's calling to me, and I'm like, I really, really, really want to get some work done on that one piece. And so I'll pull it up and I'll work on it instead. And that's what I started doing. And then I realized, you know what, this just isn't working for me. I can't do that. I am going to probably still try to continue with my whip go, because I can tell you I did finish one of my whip go pieces, you know, numbers, and I'm fairly caught up. I'm not doing too bad on my whip go. And I had said that for next year, I just am going to do generic. So I'm sorry, I flipped right into plans on you guys. I want to do a generic whip go for next year. So I've started my board. I've kind of scribbled it in on a piece of paper. And I just put like number 1, a sampler. Number 2, a Plum Street. Number 3, a Mirabilia or Nora Corbett. And then, you know, just went like that. L&L, lavender and lace. So that when it gets called, say when number 1 gets called, I'll decide, okay, I got to work on a sampler. Which one? I think that will work better for me because it'll be what I feel like working on that month. Because if it's called, say, at in the summertime, it might be a patriotic sampler that I pull up. But if it's called in the wintertime, maybe it'll be like a Christmas Garden by Blackbird. So I'll be able to kind of not be too set in stone there. It's like I must be a rebel with my own rules and goals. I don't want to be confined. I want to stitch what I want. So if some of the goals I have put out there before and you guys want to use them and they work for you, great. I am so glad I could help you come up with a goal, a way to go work through your stitching. Goal setting just doesn't work for me. Setting myself into like on Mondays, I'm going to work on this, or Tuesdays, I'm going to work on that, or for only 3 days, I'm going to work on this piece. And then I can't work on anything else till I work the 3 days on that. That just doesn't work for me. I can't do it. I mean, I could, if I really was like, no, I need to do that. I could, but I don't really need to do that. So why? Why am I forcing myself? So that is my disclaimer. I fail. Sorry. I fail so much at goals and getting myself onto a pattern of my stitching. Some people are great at it. I watch these Flosstubers that, you know, like Lori Schickelin, she works every 2 days. You know, she rotates through 2 days on a piece, and she's great at it, and she gets great progress, and she gets finishes, and it's wonderful. And I'm glad it works for her. I can't do it. I saw another one that maybe does Mirror Mondays and, you know, whatever Wednesdays. I was going to try that, you know, and every 13th of the month do spooky stitching, you know, but then it's like July and I don't feel like working on a Halloween piece. So I just can't, because I'm more of a seasonal stitcher. That is one thing with me. I definitely like to work seasonally for the most part. Doesn't mean I won't pick up. Doesn't mean like right now you're going to see a whole bunch of fall Halloween whips, but you're not going to see a whole lot of, but they're not going to all be fall and Halloween. You might see a couple other, you're going to see a Mirabilia thrown in here and stuff like that. So in a lavender and lace that are not, the lavender and lace is not fall at all. So every time you tune into my channel, it will be a surprise what I have worked on, because it's even going to be a surprise to me and what I'm going to show you next time. Who knows? So this next piece that I want to show you is something that I picked up and I worked on a little bit. I think I might have already had some work done on this one. And I don't know why I have this pattern, the chart sitting here. But this one is, I'm going to hope it's not going to glare too much, so I'll take it out of the plastic. Oh, no, it's good. Plum Street Samplers Sweater Weather. And this has those cute little weenie dogs in sweaters. Look at them. Aren't they just adorable? So I picked this one up and I got a little bit more work on it. And I am stitching this one on an Aida. This one's 16 count Aida in the color Mellow. And by Picture This Plus. And I got a little bit more work done on this one. Look at him. I got this guy in. I think I'm missing his nose though. I think there's a stitch for his nose in a different color. And then this was my problem with this one. Right here, and I even asked my husband, because I was sitting stitching on this while we were watching TV. I said, can you see that pumpkin? He said, yeah. I said, no, can you see all the white? All the white. It's blending in too much with the fabric. All I see is the gray. That's a kind of an accent in that part. Now, if the white is in here, which, is there any white in there? Yeah, there is. That's fine. I still have to do the middle part of that star in that pumpkin, and that'll make that look better. But stitching it out here, that's not working because I can't see it. So I'm either going to outline it, you know, back stitch it, or pick a different color. I might just pick a different, maybe even a different, like a gray or something to make it kind of like a white pumpkin. That's what they're going for. But this is my progress on Sweater Weather by Plum Street Samplers. And I love it. And like I said, this is Mellow by Picture This Plus. Has just a little bit of mottling in it. It's a very slight, oh, I didn't bring my board out here. It's a very slight, if you could see, yellowy, if you could see it compared to the white, well, the white of the Q-snap even. So it's a yellowy, mellow yellow kind of color. So that is my Sweater Weather by Plum Street. And he's so cute. I like those doggies. I got the one done in his crazy little sweater. He's so cute. And I think I'm using all the called for on that one. Of course, I say that and then I lie. Yeah, I'm using the color called for except for one color. And then I might be switching out. But these are the called for colors. Look how fall. And look how neat they are. Look how, once I start using them and I'm pulling my thread out from them, it kind of gets them all snarled up. And I don't know how some floss tubers have such neat, pretty floss drops, but mine's always a mess. It's a hot mess, but it works. So beautiful fall colors though. Love it, love it, love it. My next piece is, oh, this one's a new start. I was actually watching the 911 Stitcher, Stacy, and she is good. If you don't know of her, which I'm sure most of you do, she is good at showing you the newest stuff that's coming down the pike. She'll show you new releases, and she'll also, if she knows of any stitch-alongs or anything like that going on, she'll tell you. So if you're ever interested in knowing what new pieces that designers are releasing and things like that, check out Stacy. Her YouTube channel is 911 Stitcher. The numbers 911. She also has a Facebook group. So if you're interested in getting on her Facebook group, every now and then on her Facebook group she does challenges, which I've thought about trying to incorporate into mine. I hate to be a copycat, but it's such a great idea. She might have a challenge like work on a fall piece, and you show your beginning, where you're starting at, and that maybe for like the weekend, and then your ending point. You just comment back on your comment with an ending picture, and you start out with your starting picture, and then maybe you win like a pack of threads, you know, maybe 3 or 4 overdyed threads that she's picked out in fall colors. I think it was one of her latest challenges that she had. And then somebody wins it. Now there might be 200 people doing her challenge, you know, so you only have a 1 in 200 shot, but you know, you're stitching. So it's just a fun thing to do. So anyways, I was watching her channel and she was talking about this latest stitch along that was starting on October 1st with the Lori Holt. I can't even think. Is it on my paperwork anywhere? The company. Anyways, it's Be in My Bonnet, Lori Holt from, I don't know, that quilting shop. But this is it. It's called Autumn Love. And when she showed it, I thought that is really cute. And I haven't joined along in any of these. I do have the Flea Market Flowers that was released, I don't know, about a year ago. And but I haven't started it. But I got this one. I didn't get it by October 1st because when I was watching her video, I think it was like September 30th, and I couldn't get it like the next day. They don't have a PDF download of it, or at least I didn't see one. So I ordered it and got it in a few days later. And I did start this. So Autumn Love by Lori Holt with Be in My Bonnet. What is this shop? I know you guys are shouting it at me. I cannot think of it. It's the quilt shop that like does all of these cute little things. So I ordered it, the pattern, and I went ahead and ordered the threads, and they're all DMCs, and it came with this the Flosstube card. It's a nice, sturdy, heavy, thick card, and they're not labeled in any way, but what I did was I just numbered on the chart 1 through 20, I think it was, 1 through 19. And then I just wrote on the back. Because even if I go and I use this anytime in the future, I can number them on that chart of that project and put number 1 in number 1 slot, and number 2 in number 2 slot, things like that. So, but these are the threads for it. So I did order that. And I am stitching this on a piece of white chocolate 16 count Aida. And this is my progress. So this is how far I was able to get. And I was stitching on this. This was an evening piece that I was stitching on while I was sitting and watching TV. And my husband saw this and he goes, "Ooh, that's pretty." So every now and then he'll look over at what I'm working on and he'll make a comment. But most of the time he's like, most of his comments are, "That's a different one." And you guys watch my video. Yes, it is a different one. It's not the same what I was working on the day before or last week, you know. So I think I worked on this for 2 or 3 evenings and got that far. I think it's as far as I would have liked. And it's still on the Q-snap because I might work on it some more. I gotta find somewhere to set this. So I wish I knew the company. I still can't think of it. I'll think of it after I finish the video. Then this other one is my other new start. So my magnet is sticking to my magnet board that is here. I was looking through stuff I have kitted in my closet. This is my closet that holds a lot of my cross stitch stuff in it. This is where I have all of my current whips, unless they're ones that I'm working on at the moment, then they're out in the room with me. But if they're not, if they're filed away in this closet in bins. I don't know if you've seen my craft room tour video I did a few months back. So in there, and then I have one bin that's full of kitted whips. I was kind of looking through them, and I saw this that I had ordered from Shannon Christine Designs. It was a download that I ordered off of Etsy. And it's called Winter Snowfall. And my dilemma was, she gives you, I think 3 or 4, oh, here it is, a green option for this, you know, where it's not white, where it has the color. You could either do it, she has a green option, a bright purple option, a red option, pink, blueberry, ice blue, and purple. And I was like, yeah, maybe. But what I did was I selected my own colors. And I'm going to show you the way that works for me now to select my colors for my pieces. So I also wanted a gray piece of fabric because I wanted something in the blue lines and on a gray. So I looked at my fabrics, and I'm going to show you my fabric storage also. I showed that back maybe 3 videos back, my fabric storage solution that I came up with. But I'm using B5200 for the white. So I've got several skeins of this because I'm going to need several. And then I picked, for my light blue, I picked 3761. And for my darker blue colors on it, because you need two colors, 3760. So 3760 and 3761. Those are what I picked along with the white. And I picked a Vintage Stormy Night. It's a gray Lugana. And I picked that. And I started up here in the corner. So I was working on it just one day and started doing that one. But then the next day, my Autumn Love came in and I had to start that one. So that's how I go. That's how I roll. But isn't it pretty? Look at the pattern starting to show. And I wanted something that the white would show off of well enough, because that's what's so pretty about this. Beautiful white stitching and the design. So I'm just way up in this corner up here. Way up here, stitching on that. So that's only how far I am. But like I said, I'll show you how I selected my colors when I get to the end of the video. Show you my thread storage, how I select colors and things like that when I'm kitting up a project. And I ordered, I needed some white beads, and I ordered those for that. Now this next piece I'd showed you before, had a little bit of progress on it, and this one is by Theresa Koget, and this is her newest, one of her newest releases, and this was her Halloween book. And I am working on this sampler on the front here. And I had started this when I was at my Ocean City retreat back in September. And then I picked it up and I worked a little bit more on it. And I am stitching this on a piece of, is it 32 count? 32 count Lugana in the color Caramel Macchiato by Fiber on a Whim. And so I picked it up. Let me see if I can, this is a big piece of fabric because it's going to be a big, you know, go big or go home. Big sampler here. I love, love, love it. Stay tuned, in 10 years I might have it finished. But this is where I am. So I came in and finished this large pumpkin. I am not kidding you. I worked a whole day on this pumpkin at the retreat, you know, because I'd come in and put some of the border in. I did these two cats and in this corner here. And then I started on this pumpkin and I got to about here. And that was like a day and a half of stitching. So probably a good day just getting that part of it. Then I stitched another day, over a day, to finish this pumpkin. And it was almost a 3-day stitch. And then I added this little guy. And this will be a little banner that says Boo. The background of that sign is the same color as his little pants here. But that's where I am on Theresa Koget's Halloween sampler from her one of her new releases. And then I was telling you about good suggestions from in the comments from you guys. And one was, and I was trying to find it so I could give the lady credit, give her name. And then I couldn't find it again. I don't know if I liked on her video, her comment, and then it just kind of went away and I couldn't find it. And I was trying to scroll through all of the comments and I just couldn't find it. And I know it's in there. But she suggested, why not use like a green seed bead, a green bead for the cat's eyes? Like right now, because I was saying on the last video, I haven't filled in their eyes because they're just, you know, 2 stitches on each cat. And there's several cats. I think I counted 20 cats around the border of this. And she suggested putting the beads there. And I thought, that's a good idea. I might do that. Not to that point yet, because if I'm going to do beads, it's not going to be till the very end. But here's my piece of fabric. Isn't it beautiful? So I still got quite a ways to go to meet the other corner over here. And then a little ways down. Just a little. Because I'll show you the pattern again. I am all the way up here. So I did this corner, these 2 cats, this huge pumpkin, this little guy. See his little sign there? I have to do that greenish stitching in. And then he's got a big bird on his head. And I did a couple of these little pumpkins down here, a little bit of that border down here. So that's where I am on my Theresa Koget Halloween sampler. piece. Love it. And I was thinking of maybe trying to pull it up and work on it some more before the end of October because, like I said, I'm a seasonal stitcher, so I don't know how much more light of day this thing is going to see until next fall. But that's where I am on that one. Now this piece was one that I had said that I'm going to try to put in a regular rotation. Sorry, my nose is itching. Regular rotation until I finish it. I had 4 pieces that I had selected. It was this one, Let Love Rain, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Elizabeth Weston, which is my Hands Across the Sea piece that I started for my birthday back in April. And then there was another one. Oh, A Perfect World that I worked on last time. So this is the Village Sampler by Prairie Schooler. And I am really close to it. I can feel like I get a finish on this year if I could stay dedicated to it. So that's kind of my loose goal. So this is the Village Sampler by the Prairie Schooler. And I am stitching this on an Aida, I believe. Yes. This is on 16 count Aida in the color Milk Chocolate, and I am using the called for DMCs on this one. And I was able to get, sorry for the wrinkles, this is a stiffer Aida, so when I fold it, it kind of keeps the fold marks. But this is where I am. Let me bring it in. So what I worked on this time was not a lot because this was a weekend. I was working on this over a weekend. This was when I was trying to do my 3-day rotation. And I was gone most of the weekend. I was gone a whole day. I was doing something else the other day. And so I really only got like a half a day and maybe a couple hours another day of stitching on it. So I came in and I continued this border around. I think it stopped about here. So I brought the border down. I did fill in, I filled in some more up in here somewhere. I know I did the 2 birds and the little bucket in the well I didn't have stitched in yet. So I did that. And I think maybe the tree and stuff. I don't know. Not much. But all I have left, I think, are 2 more buildings. Let me get the chart. Yeah, I just have these 2 left to do. And these quilts right here. I basically have this section left to do. And I could have this finished. And it's enjoyable stitch. I love it. So, and then the wrinkles are right here where the bunnies are. Poor little guys. I think you can see them. But that is my Village Sampler by the Prairie Schooler. So, oh, I think I did these birds up here too. Because I didn't have them in. And I came over and I started these birds. And I was just working on some little bits up in the corner that I could reach in my Q-snap. Try to fold this a little different way. One thing I try to do is fold my stuff a little bit different so that the creases don't get too bad to set in, hopefully. So it's not too hard to, a little piece of black thread down there I have to get. So it's not too hard to iron them out when I'm ready to finish my piece. I'm ready to fully finish it into a frame or something. That one's more than likely going to get framed. That's what I'm going to do with that one. Now this one is by Theresa Koget also, and this was a release that she had earlier this year, and it was this one is called Let Love Rain. And it comes out of this book right here. And the picture is in here. I'll show you the chart. Here it is. So this is what I am working on. Let Love Rain by Theresa Koget. Started up in the upper left-hand corner like most of the time on my samplers and things that I do. Every now and then I start in a different spot. But this one I started my usual upper left-hand corner. And I'm stitching this on a piece of 28 count Lugana in the color Ivory. And I had a commenter ask me, why am I stitching this on Lugana? Does it have any specialty stitches in it? No, it doesn't. It's all straight up cross stitch. So there's not even any back stitching. I don't believe in it. It's all just X's. But it was the fabric that out of my stash that was the size it would fit my project. And it was a color that I liked for my project, because I went round and round on this one. I knew I was going to start it. I was going to start it with my friends Cindy, Madeline, and Paula. And I knew, the 3 weeks prior to knowing when we were going to start it, I started trying to kit it and look, and I probably changed my mind 3 times on the fabric I wanted for it, because I was looking through my stash, and I finally settled on this 28 count piece of Lugana in the color Ivory, because it was the one I liked the best out of what I had. So there are 2 prerequisites for me to pick a piece of fabric for a project. One is it a color I like? The main one is it's a color that'll work, and is this piece of fabric big enough? Is it a good size piece of fabric for it? Then I sometimes narrow it down that, if I can find that, if it just has regular straight up cross stitch and it's an Aida, then great, that works. If it has specialty stitches, 1/1, things like that, I prefer not to stitch it with Aida. I will try to, then I need to pick a Lugana out of my stash, because those are what I have, is Aidas and Luganas in my fabric stash. And, but if it's just straight up X's and a Lugana is the fabric that will work the best for it for me, then I just pick a Lugana. It doesn't matter. But I do specifically pick Lugana when there are specialty stitches in a piece, like my Elizabeth Weston from Hands Across the Sea. So this is where I am on this one. And when I worked on this last, I did this flower, this heart. I did this little chain link looking border here, and I extended this border. So that's what I was able to do this last time. And this was when I was trying to follow, and I think I stitched in the word your, maybe, in these 2 little things. I finished these 2 little things. This was when I was trying to stick to my 3-day rotation. And I was still loving stitching on this, but I set it aside because I was done. It was my 3 days. And sometimes I don't feel like I get enough done, because if I am busy and I don't get much stitching done that day, then I feel like I'm losing some time on that stitch. And if I'm really enjoying it, I want to continue to stitch on it. So this was another one I had to set aside because I was doing my 3 days, and my 3 days were up. And I said, that's okay. I get to pull it up next month, because this one was one that was going to be a focus piece that I was going to try to work 3 days every month on. So, speaking of, it's not I have it over there. Let me get up for a second. Hold, please. I had a commenter also ask me if Elizabeth Weston, which I just mentioned, was my birthday start, and I was showing it on my last video. I did not work on this any of the last 3 weeks. Elizabeth Weston is by Hands Across the Sea. She looks like this. And I am stitching this one on a Lugana also. She's still on her Q-snap. Let me get her down off here. She is in a color called Stone Gray. 28 count Lugana. I believe it's a 28. But this is my Elizabeth Weston. And I had somebody comment on my video, and then I was kind of misplaced the comment, and I didn't answer it back. So hopefully you're watching. The one that commented, I think her name, I want to say Muriel, I can't remember. Anyways, she was asking, are there specialty stitches in this border, because it looks like it? No, it is all cross stitch. It's all X's. I'm hoping you guys can see that well. So far, and then she was asking if there are any specialty stitches in this one. So far, these are all regular stitches. Just regular complete X's. So far, but I'm just up here in the corner. I didn't get a chance to pull out the project and look at it, but I believe there are some satin stitches And I think there's there is 1/1 in the wording and some satin stitches in this piece for sure. Not as many satin stitches as Sarah Brazier had. And it looks like a Lazy Daisy stitch. Yeah, 1/1 and satin. Looking more, hoping the pattern, no, you can't see it. I think that's it though. There's nothing difficult about this pattern. It is just a big one. She is a large project. I think that's all of the specialty stitches that she has. But the border is all, what I have stitched so far is all straight up cross stitch. I always also have people ask me about these. These are magnetic bungee ties, at least that's what I call them. These are kind of like cable wranglers that people use them. Like you can roll up your, like a long cord and wrap it up with this, or like TV cords, like if you have cords hanging off your TV and you want to wrap them up and keep them neat, you could do that with these. They have a magnet on each side. These are just holding all of this fabric because this is a large piece. They're just holding up all of my rolled up fabric. So this isn't just laying in my lap when I have it in my Lowry floor stand. I stitch with it in a floor stand and it's right in front of me. All of this fabric here would just be laying down in my lap. And so then when I'm trying to, I two-hand stitch. Every time I would be trying to get my hand under here to start two-handed stitching, I would be fighting this fabric. So I just rolled it up. And I ordered those off of Amazon, like a pack of 12 or something like that. They're not that expensive. Anyways, that was not a whip. That was just something I was showing. Now this next piece is by Lavender and Lace. This is one, I think when I fell off of the whole, I got to stitch 3 days on everything and whatever. So this was one that I wanted to pull up and work on. And it's Nantucket Rose by Lavender and Lace. Trying not to make a lot of noise. And it looks like this. So she's a piece from back in 1992. But I had ordered her recently off of 123 Stitch, like 2 years ago maybe. So she may still be available. Lavender and Lace doesn't usually go out of print as quickly as Mirabilia's do. So she is an old piece. And I just have my floss on bobbins in this small bobbin box for this one. And what I do, I've showed you in the past, in this little bobbin box, that's what I was opening. I put her card in here and then I could see that the threads belong to this lady. Well, she was a restart. She was one on my mind that I was like, I was stitching this one on this, this Ada, the 16 count Sea Spray Ada, and I had gotten this far on it. This is one of those crunchier Adas, really stiff, that, you know, holds all the creases in it a lot and stuff like that. And I had picked blue because, as I told you before, it's all solid stitched, and the only thing that's kind of open stitched is the sky. This is the water line here for the Nantucket Bay. And then there's a canopy of trees that go across the top. And then she's sitting down here. So I wanted a blue piece because the only part of the pattern, the material that you see that's not stitched is the sky. But I thought, I knew I had this piece of Be Stitch Me fabric. Let me see what color is it? And it is a 32 count Lugana by Be Stitch Me in the color Frost. So I wanted to restart her on this. For one, the crunchy Ada, I'm kind of falling out of love for the really stiff Ada now that I have found a bunch of overdyed Adas. I'll still stitch on it. I still have some pieces that I don't mind stitching on it. Like Santa of the Forest I have on it. The crunchy Ada. The Village Sampler that I showed you from Prairie Schooler, that's on a crunchy Ada. But I decided to start her over. This fabric kind of would look more like clouds and sky to me. And I started over in a different part. This doesn't look like what I was just showing you because I decided to do a middle start because I really wanted to get a start on the girl, on the lady. And so I worked for about, I don't know, a couple of days, 2 or 3 days on her. Sorry, I'm gonna open this box again, make more noise. But I think it goes this way. I started in the middle, which was kind of right here where her knee is. And I was working on this part of her dress. So these dark parts here are right here. And this is up at the crook of her knee and then going down. Because I really wanted to get working on her. But look at how, and I'm using the called for DMCs, but look how her dress in the picture looks gray, but it's like a greeny gray. There, so, but I love it. I picked 32 count for this one. Normally for my Mirabilias and lavender and laces, I either go with a 16 count Ada or I want to do 28 count Lugana, because I know, especially like, I know Bestitch Me, when she does the overdying process on her fabric, it shrinks it. So this, even though it's a 32 count, it's probably more like a 34 count. It shrinks it down some. And they have beads and things usually. But this piece does not have any beads, any cry neck. It is straight up DMC. So if you're interested in starting a lavender and lace, and you think she's pretty, but you just is like, I don't care, I don't want to do beads, I don't want to do metallic threads. She is straight up DMC thread. So I'm stitching her on a 32 count because it won't matter, because I won't have to worry about beads being too crowded and smushed in. So that's where I am on that one. I restarted her, enjoying it. Much better on that fabric for some reason. Sorry for seeing the top of my head. The next one is a Mirabilia. And this one is my Autumn Queen. That was so nicely gifted to me by two lovely people. Lovely young lady and her dad. And because I had said this was my unicorn chart, and they had found it and gifted it to me for my birthday. So I wanted to get some more work done on her because she is Autumn. And I am stitching her on a piece of 28 count Lugana in the color Platinum. Let me make sure it's front or back. And this is where I am. What I had worked on was all of this yellow and white over here. This is part of her cape that she has. So that's what I was working on this last time. And so I spent like 3 or 4 days. There again, I was it was through a weekend too, so I kind of missed some time. I was not home. And she is coming out gorgeous. All of the empty spots are where all the metallic threads and beads are going to go up here in her hair and around her neck. In the middle of her bodice here is this way is a quite intricate design with a lot of metallic and some beads and things. Up here, the ends of her sleeve are, so I kind of just skipped around a little bit. I felt like working on an area that had some more solid stitching. But the one thing that I did do was I picked up some of the Whisper thread and put it in. It's probably hard to tell. I can see it more in person, but right here is the Whisper thread, which is a fuzzier, let me see if I could turn it this way if you'd see it, is a fuzzier thread. Nah, maybe not. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Yeah, well, a little bit, because there's some sticking up really high right now. The Whisper thread is, because this is supposed to be kind of a furry cape. You know, close and personal and in your business. So, and it looks like these are, I have it in kind of a crunchy bag. These are her beads and her cry neck that she needed. And this is the Whisper thread. And it said she needed 2 cards of Whisper thread. Or maybe 3. I might have 3 in there. But it looks like this. See how it's fuzzy? So that is stitched in for part of her cape. The whitest parts of the cape. Sorry, I'm hearing my little dog that's having an issue. I don't know what she's doing. And my husband's, he's working in the office today. He's not here. So it was a perfect day for me to film because I have the house to myself. So, but that's where I was on Autumn Queen. This next one I pulled up. It's on my whip go to work on it 3 days. And it's Gilles Leger by Reflet de Soie. See if I can get it out of the bag. And it looks like this. This is actually the reproduction sampler piece, the original that they did the reproduction from. So it's really hard to see because it's missing threads. It's very faded in places, and there's some places where the threads have kind of just totally disintegrated. So it is beautiful. I was inspired to stitch on this one by Country Stitchers. Deb off the Country Stitchers had finished it, and her piece was gorgeous. And then I had just watched, oh no, she's upstairs barking. I don't know if you can hear her. I think she's starting to feel better. Oh, no. All right, Molly, shush. Shush. If you're going to bark, leave the room. Shh. Shh. Go. She was laying on her dog bed in here, the younger one of the two. I have 2 dogs. So she's been laying in here being nice and quiet till Sissy started to bark. If you're going to bark again, you're leaving. Molly. Shush. I am stitching this on, I'm using the DMCs. It came with a Soie or DMC conversions. You have the DMC. So I'm using the DMC. I'm not using the Soie. And I was watching recently one of older videos of Lisa Kindred, the Kindred Stitcher on Flosstube. She had this hanging on her sampler wall behind her, the Gilles Leger, and I was like, I gotta get it out and stitch on it some more. But I'm just using the called for DMCs on this piece, and I am stitching it on a piece of, did I not put it back in the bag? Looks like this is Fiber on a Whim, 28 count, or 32 count Lugana. And this is how far I am. I'm not sure what the color is on this one. I think this might be Fawn, Fawn, by Fiber on a Whim. So this is where I am. And what I worked on this last time, and I only got a couple of days. I put these letters in, B, C, D, and U. Did a little bit more of the vine here and a little more of this because I only had a little bit of this done. And that was it. That was all I had time to do. Like I said, I've been busy a lot this month. Just not home. And it's a big piece. I don't think it'll be as big as this piece of fabric. It's just this fabric is serged on these other ends and I didn't want to cut it. I don't think there's a whole lot going to be left from it anyway, but I think it is a little bit bigger than I actually need. So that's where I am on Gilles Leger. And then I've been recently working on, I feel like I'm missing a piece. Oh, it's still up here. This is the piece I've been working on recently in the other room watching TV. And this is my Halloween at Hawk Run. Looks like this. And I had showed you one time that I had went ahead and gridded in all of the squares so that I could jump around wherever I wanted to. And I already had this square done, and I did half of this one, and I decided I wanted to jump down here and I wanted to work right in here. So that's what I did, because I felt like it, because that's what I wanted to do. I am stitching this on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color J, J-A-Y by Picture This Plus. And this is where I am. Let me stand up. Sorry for the thread, because I was stitching on this just last night. So I do have a little bit of extra margin there, but this was a fat half. And there wasn't a whole lot more to the fat half. So I just didn't cut it because it was all serged and everything. But this is it up closer. So I had the corner block, this top block number 1 finished already. And earlier this fall, back in August, September, I was working on that second block and I got it half done. And then over these last few days, I've been working on the center block. And that's where I am. So I am loving it. I wanted to get some more of these. I wanted to get some bright orange colors going in here. And, you know, to see how that would look with this piece of fabric I picked. So that's where I am on this one. So I'm going to put it back on its Q-snap, probably work on it a little bit more maybe. We'll see. So you might see this one again next time. You might not. By tonight, I might decide I want to work on something else. Who knows? I'm crazy that way. Yes, baby girl. Thank you for being quiet. Thank you for shushing. Thank you. Love you. Okay. And then I have one last piece, I think, to show you guys. And this is another one. Watch out, baby. I'm going to move my chair. That I am currently working on. I was working on it this morning, sitting in my craft room here. And this one I started for Leanne's Legacy. Barb from Lost and Floss started this hashtag Leanne's Legacy. It's not a stitch along, it's a start along, which works for me because I can do a start along. Stitch along, I don't keep up. But it's the gather in. So I started this one for Leanne's Legacy. And it actually is a restart because I started it on a piece of fabric that I just wasn't feeling. This house is, house, barn, whatever it is fairly white, and my fabric was fairly white. I thought it would show up good enough because of the mottling in it, but it didn't seem to be, and I wasn't enjoying the piece on it. I don't know why. I was having issues. It just wasn't calling to me to stitch on. Then I switched my fabric and I've been stitching away on it. I feel like, and I think I heard kind of this before from somewhere, not sure where, you know, you're painting with thread. So I feel like your fabric is your canvas and your threads are your paints, and you're making this beautiful picture come alive with thread and fabric. So I like to find the fabric and the thread that I feel works the best for me to come together to make this beautiful picture. So I was stitching this on when I started it for Leanne's Legacy back. What was the date that was started? Was it September? I don't know if I wrote it down. No, I didn't. I have to look back on my calendar. Back in September, it was like the end of September. I started this on a piece of Fortnite fabric. It's a 16 count Aida in the color Moccasin. And I got this far, and actually on the camera that is showing up pretty good, the house. In person it didn't look like it was showing up at all. And this is kind of a crunchy Aida, even though it's over dyed. I love their Lugana Fortnite fabrics. And I like their Aida, but for some reason this one just wasn't working for me for this piece. And I was stitching on something else, still thinking about this one because I had put it aside because I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it on that fabric. And I was stitching on something else, and I was watching one of Chrissy Crosshatch Quilts older videos, and she showed her finish of the Gather In. And I was looking at it closer, and I said, her piece, like this one looks pretty light, which I picked a kind of light-ish color, and this looked light. Her piece looked more kind of yellowy brown, and I'm not sure what her piece was that she used. She uses more linen, I believe, than she doesn't usually work on Lugana like I do. She works more on a linen. So I picked up this piece of 32 or 28. It's a Lugana. It's in the color Caramel Macchiato by Fiber on a Whim. And this one is 28 count. And I picked it up and I started working on it, and I was loving it so much more. I can't really describe why. I don't know. I don't know why that one wasn't working for this piece and this one does. It's just personal preference. I know I will find something that I will love on this fabric, but this piece just wasn't it. It just wasn't it. So this is where I am. So I started putting the bones in, the structure of the house, because I do have a retreat coming up in a couple of weeks. Just a small local one with a few, a really small one that I've been doing for years. And it's not a cross stitch retreat. It's more of a crafting. It started out as a scrapbooking retreat, but we do different crafting too. And I know I'm going to take my cross stitch. And so sometimes just getting a good fill-in spot on pieces works. So this morning, that's what I was doing. I was filling in some of this white down here. If you notice, there are things about my stitching that I know some people are like, do you stitch? You stitch different, you stitch. I'm a little odd. It's my brain. And it's the way I see the pattern. When I'm self-taught, when I first started looking at patterns and started cross stitching way back when I was like, I don't know, 20, 21 years old, I see the pattern vertical. I see vertical lines when I look at a pattern. That's the direction that I want to stitch in. That's how I taught myself. That's what feels comfortable to me. So I usually stitch vertically. So if you notice my lines, I have stitched this house solid this way. Same with this and that. And even up here on the roof. And this has a little bit of variegation. It's called Swamp Water by Weeks that the roof is stitched in. So I stopped there because I was like, do I want my pattern to look like this, going this way? A lot of times for roof lines, I like it to go this way. But there are these little stars coming out of the chimney stack that kind of swoop down and touch the roof and come back up. So, and that's where those gaps are, is where the start of one of the stars hits the roof. So I was trying to decide, do I want to stitch in the stars and then try to go horizontally on the roof line? So, but the house wasn't bothering me doing it vertical because there's not a whole lot of variegation in that thread. That one I selected myself from my stash, and it's a Victorian motto that I had in my stash called something Riverboat. Oh, I think it's over there. No, it's here. I was stitching on it this morning. Oh, here it is. 17th century Riverboat. It has very, very slight variegation in it, but not a lot. So it's really kind of like a really, really light taupey gray. Very light. So I'm loving it so much more. And this is what I was actually still working on this morning, because I love this design. And I was like, why am I not feeling working on this? And all I could think was it was the way the material, it looked to me like my house was fading in. The barn, the building, the structure. But yet when I'm looking at it now, it doesn't look too bad. And see, I was trying to stitch this one horizontally. So that, because what I was doing here was I was switching out and using half ecru and half the called for not whitewash, called for on the Arrowhead by Classic Colorworks, I think. No, Weeks Dye Works, Arrowhead and ecru. So I was switching back and forth, trying to get the vertical slat look. And I'd filled in the grass and the door and those pumpkins there. So I'm going to keep this piece of fabric. I'm going to frog that out. So like I tell everybody, pick what works for you. A lot of people feel bad because they work on Aida, and they've told me that. And they say, you make me feel better because I stitch on Aida and I see you stitch lovely pieces on Aida. And my philosophy on fabric is, some people, they only want to stitch on the higher count. They only want to stitch on linen. They only want to stitch, some people only can stitch on Aida, or that's what they want to stitch on. My philosophy is stitch on what you love. Stitch the patterns that you love. Stitch with the fabric that you love. If you love Aida, that's what you can see. That's what makes you more comfortable to stitch on. Stitch on Aida. Do it. Enjoy your project. Enjoy your hobby. Don't feel pressured that, oh, everybody's stitching on linen, so I need to stitch on linen, and then you hate it and you quit cross-stitching. Don't do that. Or you never pick it up because you're not loving the piece. If you love your pieces on, if you love to stitch on Aida because that's what you've stitched on for years and you're used to it, or that's what you learned on and you don't want to, you know, you're thinking, well, I need to learn how to stitch on linen because everybody stitches on linen. No, you don't have to. Nowadays, there are so many dyers that dye Aida. You got Picture This Plush. You got Fortnite Fabrics. There's Atomic Ranch. To Dye For Fabrics on Etsy. She dyes a lot of fabric. In fact, I have an order in with her to get a few pieces in. So stitch on what you love. If you love Aida, stitch on Aida and be proud of it. You know, Lady of the Flag and the Firefly Fairies, they're stitched on Aida. I stitched these years ago. I only stitched on Aida. Let me go get them. Show you more up close. Let me get Lady of the Flag. And I've showed her before. You know, my angels sitting over on my dresser over here. They're stitched on Aida. This, let me see if I can get her close enough, and also there'll be glare. She is stitched on an off-white Aida. Can you see that? She is stitched on an Aida fabric. She is stitched on 16 count Aida. That's when I first fell in love with stitching on 16 count, was stitching this Mirabilia and my lavender and lace angels and things. They lay so nicely on it with the beads on 16 count Aida. She is stitched on Aida. So when people think that they can't stitch pretty pieces on Aida, you can. You absolutely, absolutely can. She's on Aida. Excuse my backside. The Firefly Fairies, they're on Aida. They're on, I think, like a sage green Aida. Sage khaki, I think. But if you can see, that's Aida. Another 16 count Aida. They are stitched on. It's hard to keep the glare off of them. The glass. Stitched them years ago on Aida. This lady down here, my winter angel, she doesn't have glass. I framed her myself, and the glass, this was just a frame that the glass had broken out of. This is just a cheap frame I put her in. She's on a 16 count, I think it's ice blue. So you can see a wrinkle there. See, Aida. The beads fit beautifully. This is Whisper here that I stitched with. She was stitched years and years ago on Aida. But see how nicely all the beads lay? I want to reframe all of my angels because I framed them myself. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a budget or anything back then. But look how nicely the beads are laying in the edge of her dress there. And this is 16 count Aida. So she is, love her. Beautiful, beautiful piece stitched on Aida. So don't let people make you feel like you can't stitch pretty things on Aida, because you certainly can. There's no, you know, if people look down on you because you stitch on Aida, I say, why are you listening to them? Don't. Who needs that negativity in your life? Most people embrace all forms of cross stitch, and that is great. I like to stitch on Lugana and Aida. I tried linen years ago, and the slubs drive me nuts because I am very much a uniform kind of person, and I'm uniform in my stitching. I don't want my stitches to seem off because there's a skinny little thread and this fat little thread. I just can't, I can't wrap my head around it. So stitch on what you love. Rant over, if you call it a rant. I'm just like, I have so many people say that they have been made to feel bad, like they're just some novice stitcher because they only stitch on Aida. That's not true. That is absolutely, absolutely not true whatsoever. Stitch on what you love. If that's what you can see, you have failing eyesight, and that's all you can see, stitch on Aida. You know, there's no shame in it at all. So those are all my whips. And the next thing that I wanted to show you guys, I told you about my thread organization. Now, another thing I did this month, I organized my thread. And when I did, I was going through all my DMC. And I had lots. Because what I decided is I want to have a master set of DMC. And I wanted to try to pull it all together. Now that I still have some separate, like I showed you, that lavender and lace piece, I had a little box of DMCs that are bobbinated and they're all put in there. I've already done that. I'm gonna leave it. But there was so much DMC that I had kitted in my kitted stash on skeins. And I thought, I know I have purchased DMC 3371 probably at least 5 or 6 times. And I want to get out of doing that. I don't want to have, like every time I'm doing a project and I'm kitting it with DMC, I don't want to go and buy a whole new set of DMC skeins. I don't want to have, and then one day when I finish all of these things, I might have 500,000 skeins of DMC left over with just pieces of, because I have the same, I have 10 of one. I have 10 of 221 DMC, because it was called for in so many different projects or something like that. I don't want to do that. So what I did was I gathered up a whole bunch of my DMC skeins, and then I was sorting them on the floor. I was putting them like, these are the 100s, these are 200s, these are the 300s, these are the 400s. And I sat on my floor here in the craft room and I was sorting them out for hours. Well, I ended up hurting my back because my back, evidently, I'm at the age, sorry, I'm getting a itchy Flosstube nose. I'm at the age where I can't sit on the floor for hours. I can't, my back doesn't like it. I can sit down there for a little while, but I actually was sitting down there for probably 2 or 3 hours sorting threads and then going through, and then once I had sorted them, like these are all the 200s, and then I was going, this is 220, 207, and 208, and 209, and putting them in order so that I could get them all filed away. So what I had done is now I have 2 files because I had more than one of a lot of different colors. And I wanted to make this easier for me so that, say I'm working on a project and I'm going to tackle it in one of 2 ways in the future. I am either going to take some of a skein of DMC, like say if it calls for, 20 different DMC colors. And then I decide I want to take just a little bit, like, maybe a few lengths of the DMC, put it on a floss drop or whatever, put it in my project. If I run out, I can go back to my master set, grab some more. And then if that looks like it's getting low and I don't have any more, then I know to put it on a list to go buy some more of it. But I don't have 15 skeins of it laying in my supplies. I just didn't want to do that. So what I did, and I also went ahead and splurged and treated myself. I have these containers, and my DMC collection now sits in, it takes about 5.5 of these containers. And I picked these up, I think I picked these up at Walmart. They just have little divided sections. There's 3 sections per row, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. And then I can fit 5 skeins in each section. So this holds 90 bobbins of floss, of DMC floss. And I treated myself and I went ahead and got the Pip and Chip bobbins. You can order those online. They come from the UK. And, when I broke it down, they cost about 40 cents a bobbin. So these are the Pip and Chip bobbins, and I have organized. So now I have a whole full set. I have the rest in a drawer. The drawer over here, pointing the wrong way. This drawer right here holds all of my DMC bobbins. So now if I want to go, like if I need, 21, the number 21, I may go in here, take off some, cut it into the lengths I like, put it on a floss drop and put it in that project. And then, do it that way instead of buying a whole skein for every single project. Because maybe in that project, I'm only going to use like 1 length of the DMC, but yet I bought a whole skein. So now I have it where they're all organized. And what I was also doing, because I had extras of a lot, I was watching 2 Needles Pulling Thread, and I was watching Kathy had said she did this, and I think there was another, I know she got that idea from somebody else. I don't think it was her original idea, but she got me thinking, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I have these shoe boxes, I didn't need the lids. I mean, I could put the lids on them, but these are housed in these other drawers. On this side, I have these. And on the other side, I have the top drawer, the other side of the, over here, I guess. There I have the bobbinated. And then over here where you can't see, I have the other set of drawers hold these. And in these shoe boxes that I had, I just put in baggies with an index card and numbered it. So this is DMC number 10. Right now, or no, 1. I'm sorry, I'm reading it backwards. 1. Right now, I don't have any extra of 1. I just have the one in the bobbin box. Except for I think I might have one in a project, maybe. And then the next bag is 2, and I have 1 extra skein of 2. So what I want to do is use from here first, but not take out of my master set. I want to keep this set complete. That way at any given time, I know I have a whole complete set of DMC. So when I'm kitting a project, I can sit there and I know I have it. But if I notice that the bobbin is low, you know, say if I'm, you know, I look and I say, oh, 2 is getting low. Let me look in here and see if I have any more 2. Oh, I have 1. So then I go and I go ahead and bobbinate 1 or do whatever I'm doing with 1, floss dropping it, whatever. Then write in my note, oop, I only had 1. Let me get another extra to put in here. Because there are some where I had several. Like, look here. This is 225. I had 3 more bobbinated and an extra skein of 225. So I had several of that one. Look at this one, 223. I must have been called for a whole lot of projects. Look at all the extra ones. That's what I want to avoid in the future. I don't want to do that. There's no reason that I need to have 7 or 8 skeins of 223. So I'm going to pull it from here. If I don't have it, pull them 1 out of here and keep using out of here until I get these used up. So I probably have enough 223 to last me for 15 years. So, or maybe forever. I don't know. Depends on how much that's called for. So that's my storage for my DMC. Then my storage for my overdyed floss is in my closet. I have, and I showed it in my tour in my craft room. I have a small curtain hanger hanging on the side wall in here. There's a wall up against here. I have it hanging, this curtain rod that probably is about 3 feet long. And on the rings, on the big, on these rings, this is one I pulled down, I open them and I put them up on the curtain rod, and they hang on the curtain rod like this. So what I did with all of my overdyes to make it easier, because how do I select my threads for my project? Well, maybe I'm looking at, you know, like I'm looking at this one. So maybe I'm thinking, you know what, I need to switch that for something else. So I decide I'm going to pick a different color to go there. Maybe my decision is like a really light gray. Well, what I'm going to want to do is look at, you know, my things. I could either look at overdyes. These are all my some of my greens. And I went ahead and switched them from, by certain brand, like Classic Colorworks, Weeks Dye Works, Gentle Arts, things like that. And I decided to put them all on the, you know, put them color coded. So that when I'm looking for like a yellowy green, I can go right here and find a yellowy green, you know, for a project. And if I don't have it in the overdyed, because that's how I'm usually kitting from stash, is going by color. And one tip I could give you guys, if you don't already have it, this thing is awesome. This is the DMC, I don't know what it's, the color cards, the color card. This is the one with the real thread on it. I ordered this, I think I ordered this from 123 Stitch. Sometimes they have this in stock. This one has the real threads. So when I am trying to kit, like say, like I showed you the one chart where it showed the DMC conversion and then it had the MPI or the Versois silks. Well, if it tells you what the DMC color is, then you could sit there and go, well, you know what? I might want to do it in a overdyed. Because maybe it says, you know, like your color is DMC 471. So you go to DMC 471 on the color chart, and you see that it's this color. And then I say, you know what? I think I'm just going to pick an overdyed that's really close to that color, because I have a whole selection of greens and I want it to be kind of overdyed. Then I can pull it from here, you know. So even if I'm not using the actual DMC, I can figure out what is comparable. If it tells me it's DMC number blah, 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 you know, and it's this color, then I know I'm looking for something that looks kind of like that color, very similar. And I pull from my stash. Sometimes I want it to be different. Now, like I said, maybe for that pumpkin, maybe I want to try a really light gray. So I'm looking on here and I look at the chart and I go way over here. Oops, I unfolded the whole thing. And I look way over here and here's a bunch of the grays. And I decide I want really super, super light gray. Maybe this one. So then I look and it's number 01. So maybe I want to use a little bit of that in that project. Then that's where I'd go to my bobbin box, pull a little bit of it and put it in with the project, you know. So, so that is one way how I pull thread, is I go, sometimes I'm looking at the actual picture, you know, because sometimes I'll go, that overdyed does not look like that. You know, like maybe it'll say that this grass down here is, I don't know, maybe it'll say it was Classic Colorworks Amber Waves. And I'll be like, there is no way that grass is that yellow. Because sometimes the overdyed colors are not the same. And then I go, yeah, no, I don't want that one. Then I go on here and I go, you know what? I like this color better or something. And then I decide I'm going to pull this Victorian Motto Essential Spice instead. It's less yellow. Maybe I still want to stick with kind of a yellowy green, but not that yellow like that. So this way, you know, I reorganized all my thread to make it easier for me to kit from stash. So that's how I kit from stash for thread. How I kit from stash from fabric. And like I told you guys, and I had showed this just a couple of videos back, how I did my fabric storage just recently. This is not my idea. This has been going around. The box is my idea. I got this box off of, comes in a set of 2. I got this, they're collapsible. They fold up. So they're kind of like those tote boxes you can get for bins, but they're a little bit longer and bigger. I measured my comic book boards. Has a lid so that keeps the dust off of my fabric. But these comic book boards, I forgot what the measurements are on them. I have the box over there. But I looked up the dimensions on these, and then I picked a box that these would fit perfectly in off of Amazon. They came in a set of 2, and I bought 2 sets because I needed 4 boxes altogether. So these are a lot of my lighter neutral colors in here. So when I'm picking fabric, what I do is I just take my boxes. They are stacked right here. You can see right next to the, there's 3 more. This one was the one stacked on top. I just grabbed it so I could show it to you guys. I grab them, I put them down, take the lids off, and I can see all my fabric laid out. Blues, greens, oranges, purples, neutrals, tans, whites. I can see them all. And then in this neutral box, on the comic book boards, up in the corner, let me try to show you. Like up in the corner, I have written 28 count Lugana in the color fawn from Fiber on a Whim. It's 18, and it measures 18 by 25 inches. And I have put a clip, I just clip it to itself, not to the card because that gets too thick sometimes. But I clip it to itself. So those plastic alligator clips I ordered off of Amazon. I ordered the poster boards off of Amazon. This is acid-free paper. These are plastic clips. They are not going to rust. And they're in a covered box, fabric box. So these are keeping my fabrics nice and safe. But I can look through here. And like I said, I go by color. So if I'm looking for something that's in a lighter color, but then I also need it to be the size I need, you know. And I have these all mixed in. I have Adas in here. This one's an Ada. This one is a 16 count Ada in the color Aged Paper by Color and Cotton. And this one measures 34 by 18. So say if I needed a piece that I knew I needed at least, maybe the project itself, the design itself is going to be 18 inches long. I'd be like, that's not going to work. Because maybe it's, 25 by 20. I'd be like, well, that's not going to work. Or 25 by 18. It's not going to give me any margin. So then I have to look for something that maybe is kind of similar to that, but a little bigger. And like, here's a Lagana. This one is the color Wheat. But this one is 27 by 36. So this is a nice big piece of fabric. But would 28 count work for what I need? Because like I told you, I have decided I'm going to put all of my Mirabilias on 28 count, or if I'm going to do it on Ada, it's going to be on 16 count. The reason for 28 count is I feel like the beads will fit much better on a 28 count Lugana than they will on a 32 count, especially if it's an overdyed Lugana. What are you doing in my stuff down there, little girl? So that's how I select my fabric. So right here is one of my boxes of fabric. And like I said, they're in different sizes, they're different types, they're either Laganas or Adas, and they're all mixed in there together. Because I usually don't care if it's an Ada or a Lagana. Where's my lid? And then they stay stacked over there and have the lids on them so that they stay, nice and clean and don't get all dusty and dirty. And the boxes are pretty light. They're not heavy. They're very light boxes. So I think that's it. I think that's all I have for you guys for today. Those are my projects. Those are my starts, my restarts. That is my process and thinking on how I pick my fabrics, how I pick my threads, how I have my threads organized. Like I said, all in these drawers over here are all of these shoe boxes. And they're in numerical order for my DMCs. And these are all my extras. So here's another one. This one starts with number 317. So, and I have them all in order. This system does take up space, but I have this dresser that used to belong with a guest room set, because our guest room, we have 2 guest rooms upstairs. They're too small to fit a whole long dresser in it. We have the tall stand-up dresser in each of those rooms, but that's all that would fit. And then over here are all of my DMCs in their bobbin boxes. Okay, and the DMC chart lays right on the top. And when I am wanting to, I'm sorry for that loud noise. When I am wanting to pick an overdyed thread, I go into my closet. And I don't want to move you guys around. But like I said, in this closet, I have a curtain rod, and all of these hang on it in color codes. All color-coded in the Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet order. And then at the beginning, though, I have like whites, grays, and tans and browns. That is it. So that is what I have to share with you guys for today. I would love any comments you guys have on maybe how you store and organize your threads and fabric. Maybe there's another good, neat idea that either could help me or help other people. If you want to read the comments and find out other ways that people store their flosses and fabrics and their projects or whatever, however they're working their system. I have to keep my stuff organized. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to find anything. I like it organized because I like to go, I know I have that, or do I have it? Now I used to keep these by category, classic colorworks all together and things like that. But then I was going, well, I want to pick a green. I got to look at classic colorworks. Then I got to come over here and look at my Weeks Dye Works section. And then I got to look at my general art section. Oh, and then I got to look over here at Victoria Motto. And then I get these Cottage Garden Threads of the Month from Gowron Stitchery. And so now I have these starting to add to my overdyed thread collection. So I thought, nah, it'd just be easier to have all my greens in there, a section, you know, and a couple of these rings, all my blues, all my reds, you know, and so on and so on and so on. So like I said, mine's works for me for now. It's makes it easy for me to be able to kit a project. I can look and see what I have. I can look at all the fabrics that I have. I know that I have, you know, what I have in neutrals, what I have in purples or greens. Like I can show you real quick. If you wanted to, you know, maybe I want to look for a blue piece of fabric. Well, all my blue fabrics are right here, and they run to purple. So, you know, maybe I want a really pretty, brighter, lighter blue. Well, here we go. But then I look at it, and then I see, is this size going to work? Is it big enough piece of fabric? Do I want a gray blue? You know, these right here, these are all Adas right here. You know, this one's an Ada. A lot of these are Adas in here, and some of these are Luganas. You know, some of these blues up in here. So it just depends on, you know, and this way I can see all the bluey purple colors that I have right here at a glance. And then I select my threads to go with it. So when I was selecting my threads for the Winter Snowfall by Shannon Christine, what color blues I wanted to use, I used my DMC color card and looked at it, and then I was able to go to my DMC bobbin box, pull the two colors, and actually look at it in person against my piece of fabric and said, yes, that's what I want. So that's how I do it. That's the method to my madness in these here parts. So I'm wishing you guys a good and happy week, happy stitching, lots of nice stitching time, health and happiness, and some good times ahead. And until we meet again, till we have a time to visit and things like that. I wish you guys all the best, and thank you for watching, subscribing, and liking my channel and commenting. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye-bye.